Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host Mike Lepre here with my co-host Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
Now this is our third episode of our 7-part prediction series to start the 2020 season. This episode we'll be talking about the AL West. And what do you think, Frank? Where do you want to start this episode?
Well, like we have in the past episodes, I'd say we start at the bottom of the division, and I think we both can agree the bottom of the division consists of the Seattle Mariners.
That works for me. I wholeheartedly agree.
So, looking at the Mariners roster for the last couple of years, really, there's some talent, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some, there's some sparks there.
Yeah, there's some names there that, put some fear into another team and put a little depth in the lineup, but not much. That's for sure.
No, that's definitely for sure. They got some spots in the middle of the lineup and at the top of the lineup that you could say are got some talent there.
Yeah, I mean, they got a D. Gordon, real speed guy, could play outfield, could play second base. He's been a prime player for a couple years now. You got someone like Kyle Seager, who's been hurt before. He was hurt last year for half the year. Came back, struggled a little bit, but played all right. He's a solid player, third baseman, really good third baseman defensively. And they got some other players like Haniger. Shame he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
Last year he missed 3/4 of the year. This year he's probably going to miss first couple months. I mean, you might not see him till June.
Yeah, I read out indefinitely. I actually don't have a timetable for it.
Yeah, I would say you're probably not going to see him till at least June. Then you got guys like Marco Gonzalez in the rotation. He's a pretty solid pitcher. Eats innings. Nothing super special, but on a good team he's probably a 3-man, maybe a 2-man. That's how he blossoms.
Yeah.
Daniel Vogelbach had a good year last year, a lot of strikeouts, but he gets hot and hits 10 home runs in a week or something crazy. He's
a lot of power.
He's got that kind of power. And you get someone like Taijuan Walker, who's always had high potential, high quality stuff, just always finds a way to get hurt. Pitched with Diamondbacks last year. He was hurt. Pitched with the Mariners for a little while here. Yosei Kikuchi, they signed him over from Japan last year. He started the year well last year, then struggled down, really for most of the year, but started the year well. He's had outings, and he showed glimpses of some real talent over there. A bunch of pitches, mixes the ball around all over the place.
Yeah, he had a complete game shutout last year, and he looked like he was really starting to catch something there, and he never really put it together.
Yeah, they got some other, younger quality players too. Malik Smith, super burner, tons of speed, steals a bunch of bases. If he can just get his defense to be more consistent and get on base a little bit more to really use his speed, then they got something there. Like someone like D. Gordon, who's got a ton of speed, and Malik Smith with a ton of speed. They got Shed Long, another guy with a bunch of speed. They got a lot of speed on the team, which is something that you don't really see in this day and age of baseball. Not a lot of speed. It's just more just kind of home runs and balls in the gap.
Yeah, people that can mash the ball instead of people that can get on base and cause problems on the base path.
Yeah, like the old way. Teams used to be built. They got another young guy too with some speed, J.P. Crawford. Shortstop, played really well defensively last year. He came from the Phillies. He's always got potential. He's another one. Young shortstop, could be easily their shortstop of the future.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Then they got some other pitchers. Carl Edwards Jr. from the Cubs, young guy who had a good year with the Cubs a couple years ago. Last year struggled, had some injuries. Now with the Mariners, that's someone they can have for a couple of years. If not, pitches well, you trade him away, you get something for him.
Yeah.
You get a guy Matt McGill, pitcher that never really, not a big name guy, but puts up some pretty good stats.
He'll probably compete for the closing role this year, I would think, or at least going to be the setup guy.
Sure, yeah. He's probably gonna be a little bit of a closer by committee, I think, out there. Really,
probably.
You get Carl Edwards, I think, probably has the best shot. I mean, he's got probably the best stuff out of the bullpen over there. Just if he could be consistent or not.
Yeah, it's between him, McGill, and Hirano, Yoshihisa Hirano. I'm probably saying that wrong, but he's pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean they have some talent. They could trade some of it, get some more young players back. Bolster the organization and the rebuild or one of them other rebuild teams. We have talked about 3 or 4 teams that are rebuilding in the AL alone. This is one of them. They make a lot of trades. They are probably the most active team every year.
Oh, yeah.
Off season, during the year, they make a lot of trades. They might not be major trades, kind of similar to the A's, but they make a lot of trades. They make a lot of moves, and they're always changing in and out, always trying to find some sort of talent and some sort of spark plug for the future. They got some, and they have some young players. They do have some prospects, which is good. They have some top 100 prospects that we've heard. That if you're around baseball or watch baseball, you've heard the names.
Mm-hmm.
They got guys like Justice Sheffield, who was up in the majors last year. He could be a lefty who throws pretty hard. He could be a quality left-handed starting pitcher. Worst case scenario, he's a strong bullpen guy at some point in his career here.
Yeah.
Then you got a guy like Jared Kelenic, an outfielder for them. Probably see him in a year or two, especially with a lower roster. You could definitely see him up here soon. Evan White, probably going to be their starting first baseman this year.
Probably, yeah.
You might see him maybe starting the minor, so they could do that the service time.
Yeah.
Where they can control service time for one extra year, which is kind of it's really kind of a shitty thing to do for your young players. But, I mean, it makes sense. Keep them one extra year,
Yeah, I mean, sacrifice 1 month to have them a whole extra year. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks for the player, but it's smart for the team.
Yeah.
So, Kyle Lewis, prospect, outfielder for them.
Mm-hmm.
Might see him in the near future. One of their higher prospects, good player. There's not a ton of prospect help, not a ton, but there's some, and some good ones, a couple good ones.
That's the thing is they don't have a whole lot, but the ones they do have are pretty top-level guys.
Yeah, and like I said, they have the talent to trade away some of these guys and get some more, but they need help. They don't have a bunch of prospects, so they do need some help. They don't have a bunch of money. They don't have a bunch of international money or free agent money where they can go buy a bunch of players. They have people they could trade away, and they have a GM who's not afraid to trade anybody away.
Yeah,
and ownership that they'll trade anybody away as well. As long as they have that, they can turn around pretty quickly here. Their fan base is starving.
Yeah,
that's a fan base that's starving for quality team, a playoff team, because they haven't been to the playoffs. It's been forever.
It has been forever, yeah.
They had the longest stretch, right? The longest streak of not making the playoffs.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Even when they're good, they don't make the playoffs.
I know, it's weird.
It's unbelievable. The team is they've been like this for 2 years now, at least. They're still a couple years away.
Yeah, it's not like a team like the Orioles or the Tigers who have guys that are, you've got guys waiting in the wing and they're probably like a year or two away, but I see some young guys here, but I don't see like the cavalry coming, as it were. And like you said, that it doesn't seem like maybe they're willing to spend money. They're going to make a lot of trades. I just don't see a path forward, if that makes any sense. Like, I see a path forward for a lot of the other rebuilding teams, but this team, not that there isn't hope in the future, because there's certainly some bright spots down there in the prospect pool, but I just don't see where the GM's head is swiveling. Like, I don't see the path ahead.
Yeah, you don't see out of the rebuild teams that we talked about so far, you won't put them at the top.
No.
Or second. You probably put them last.
Yeah.
Either them or the Tigers. Both teams are kind of similar where they don't really have much going on. But big thing that's going to hurt them too, and maybe even help them a little bit. The King's gone. Felix Hernandez is gone.
Yeah.
There's a guy who was their franchise. He was probably
100%.
He was the guy, the face of the franchise after Ken Griffey and Ichiro and A-Rod and those guys. Edgar Martinez, it was kind of Ichiro and then King Felix. Now that he's gone, it takes away, they lose their face, their leader, their guy who was like, I think of the Mariners, it's King Felix, their ace, all that stuff. But you know what? The little bit that helps him is now you don't have to pitch him. He was struggling. He was learning how to change his game. He struggled a lot. So now they don't have to force themselves to pitch him because of the respect they had for him and the respect the fan base had for him and as well liked as he was. They were kind of forced to pitch him. And you couldn't really pitch him out of the bullpen because he had way too much respect. It's kind of like CeCe a couple years back with the Yankees. You're paying him a lot of money and too much respect to put him out in the bullpen. Now they kind of got rid of that, which helps them that way, but it hurts them as, it was King Felix. It was the Mariners. He was the Mariners. So it kind of hurts him that way, too. So
yeah, he was one of those guys, big clubhouse presence, I'm sure. I'm sure his posters are plastered all over the stadium. When you thought of the Mariners, it got to a point where you thought of Felix Hernandez. So yeah, that's going to hurt him. I don't think that it's going to hurt them on the fields, like if you look at statistics, because he was having some lean years there. He's getting older. But like you said, having him as the face of the franchise and having him going, I just don't. I guess Kyle Seager would be the guy that you look to on this team. I'm really not sure. I mean, maybe Daniel Vogelback. But other than that, I mean, they don't really have like the guy. When you think Mariners, you think of this guy. They had Cano for a few years. You thought of him. It almost feels like they're on an island all the way out there in Seattle. They kind of are almost a forgotten about team sometimes, even when they have the stars. So it's a little tougher for them. They do have some talent in the middle of the lineup. They've got a lot of speed, like you said. They need some help in the bullpen. They need some help in the rotation. But I don't know. Overall, I just don't see this team winning all that many games. I have them maybe even losing 100 games. I could see that, which is, it just is what it is. Especially, this is a tough division, too. You have to say.
Yeah. I think they're going to be pushing 100 losses. They're not going to win many games, and it's just the way it is. Hopefully, they can turn it around quickly and find some talent and kind of get back into the mix here. But it's gonna take a while with this division growing stronger by the day, by the year. So I mean, it's gonna be tough for them, and it's a long road for them and a long road for that fan base to kind of see success. But
yeah, we'll see. I mean, the other teams are probably gonna, hate to say it, but they're probably gonna feast on this team. You got some good talent with the Rangers, Astros. We'll get into those teams in a sec here, but this will probably be the team they feast on, similar to in the East, the Yankees and Rays are going to feast on the Orioles, and in the Central, the Twins and the White Sox, and in the Indians are going to feast on the Tigers and the Royals. It's just one of those teams, and we'll see. Like I said, I've probably got them sitting cellar with, like I said, maybe 100 losses. I don't know if it'll be that bad, but it'll be somewhere in that ballpark, I think.
Sure. Yeah, they're definitely going to be down at the bottom here. The good news is, the next team we're going to talk about is the Rangers, and they kind of look like they were going to be a year or two ago, kind of looking like that, where they were going to be down at the bottom, and all of a sudden, they kept their players. They got a couple young players and a couple free agent signings, and now they look like a team that can be at least put a competition on the field and maybe win some games and get close to maybe a second wild card spot. So you want to go into the Rangers a little bit here?
Yeah, I don't really have much more on the Mariners. There's not a whole lot of meat on the bones to talk about with that team. So I'm glad to move on to the Rangers. Looking at the lineup here, I mean, they've got a pretty deep lineup. They've got a pretty solid core of guys that they've had for a while, including Shin-Soo Choo, Elvis Andrus, Joey Gallo has turned into a little bit of a star there. He's got a lot of power. Rougned Odor is a little bit of a veteran guy now at this point. They signed Todd Frazier, really, really, really good clubhouse guy. Willie Calhoun, Danny Santana. They got Robinson Chirinos behind the plate. Ronald Guzman. They're actually, the rotation, I was a little surprised at, but when I was doing my notes before the show, the rotation's pretty good too. I mean, you got Kluber at the top there. Mike Minor's a great pitcher. Lance Lynn can put up some really, really good starts. Kyle Gibson's pretty good. Jordan Lyles is good. I mean, the rotation is actually surprising when I was looking at the team. The rotation might be a little bit of a problem for some teams. You got, in the bullpen, you got Jose Leclerc closing games out, it looks like. Jesse Chavez in the bullpen. I mean, the bullpen is actually surprisingly deep too. When I was doing my notes for this team, there was a lot of surprises, I must say.
I mean, the Rangers, they definitely have some talent there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Elvis Andrus and Joey Gallo, like you mentioned. Frazier was a good signing. Ronald Guzman is a really good first baseman. Danny Santana had a great year last year.
Yeah.
No one really talks about. He was hovering right around 300 all year.
Mm-hmm.
Plays a lot of positions. Guy like Mike Minor on the rotation had an unbelievable year.
Yeah, he was great.
They were going to trade him. They kept him. Good for them. He's a great pitcher. He's going to help them. I like that you mentioned Jesse Chavez. He's a guy that's been around for a while. Does a little bit of both starting, long relief. Then they got guys like Willie Calhoun, who came up last year at times and played well.
Yeah.
Some younger guys. But their big thing really is they have a good lineup and they have a brand new stadium.
Yeah, that's
true. They have a brand new stadium, and it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be inside. It's gonna be a retractable roof, which is fantastic for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Because it gets up to 120 degrees in the middle of summer, and they're playing 6-7 days in a row. It's tough for them. So now they're gonna be in a dome, when they need to be, which is gonna help draw fans in too. They don't want to sit outside in 120 degree weather. They can go sit inside in the dome and have at least be 80 degrees in there. You know what I mean? Might not be 70, but it'll be at least 80. It cooled off and had the sun. So that's good. But that stadium is going to be good for them. But also, you don't know how it's going to play.
That's true.
Because Globe Life, the ball blew out the right field. It was
Yeah.
a bang box out the right field.
Mm.
You hit the ball in the air. It was in the second deck. It just flew out of there.
Yeah.
This stadium, you don't know how it's going to play. I would say it's not going to play quite the same. I don't see it playing quite the same at all. And usually a lot of stadiums open up, and they almost open up too big. Fences are back a little too far or too high, and then the next year they make a small adjustment, so they move the fence in a couple feet, and it makes it a little easier. So you don't know. So there's a good chance this year it's going to be a little tougher as an offensive player, which is going to hurt a team that's kind of built more offensively with a deep lineup. But they still do have guys like Joey Gallo, who it don't really matter where you're putting him. He's going to swing as hard as he can for a home run every time and strike out 250 times. Some maniac numbers he's going to do there. They definitely do have some talent, which is good, and they have a little excitement going into the year. They signed a guy like Juan Nicasio in the bullpen.
Yep.
They got a guy like Edison Volquez, who's been a quality starter. He's probably going to be more of a bullpen guy this year, I think,
Probably,
as an older guy. But then, they made the big trade for Kluber.
Yeah, that's big for them.
They got Corey Kluber. That's their ace, obviously. There's a guy that's going to eat a bunch of innings, kind of anchor that rotation with a guy like him and then Mike Minor. So they're going to have a nice 1-2 punch.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, like you said, they got a guy like Lance Lynn who's really good. He pitches. He's just a quality pitcher. 5-6 innings, 3-4 runs, couple strikeouts, and just keeps you in the game. Kyle Gibson's very similar, big ground ball guy.
Yep.
So made other couple signings like Cody Allen, quality reliever in the past, struggled last year, but see what you can get out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Guy like Derek Law, who's been in the majors for a little while now. He's always been a pretty quality reliever. So they have some pieces out there, and they have some young guys too, like Nick Solak. He had a good year. He's got some potential. He could play around the whole field. Signed a guy like Greg Bird. I'm always a fan of Greg Bird with the Yankees. He's always had that sweet swing.
Same here.
Worked definitely, worked on his defense at first base, but always hurt. Always had a chance with the Yankees, but always hurt. But if he could just kind of get away from the Yankees, get away from that mess he had there, and kind of restart with the Rangers, I think he'll make the opening day roster with the extra roster spot. I think he's got a good shot as a lefty power bat or a DH or backup first base. He's still a younger player who could put up some numbers. I think if he could just stay healthy and kind of clear his head, and if the new stadium plays kind of like that old stadium with right field, he's definitely got a shot at putting up some numbers.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see who else they got. Then they got some prospects, which is surprising for a team that still has a good lineup and never really traded away many of their big guys. You can see they have prospects. They traded for Kluber, so they have prospects, and they still have other prospects. They got a guy like Josh Jung, third baseman, who's going to be their future guy over there. He'll help take away that cover that Beltre loss.
Yeah.
He's going to be a real good player in a year or two here. We'll see him. Catcher Sam Huff. He's going to be their catching prospect as a team there where it needs kind of every team's looking for young catcher. He's their guy. He's all around. Offense, defense. He's going to be a really good player. He's a couple years away too. Then they got a guy Hans Kruse.
Mm-hmm.
Pitcher of theirs. He's one of their young pitchers. He should be coming up here a year or two. One of their higher pitching prospects. So they got some help all over the place. They don't have that overabundance of prospects, especially trading for Kluber. You lost a couple there, but they do have some good ones. They have a couple top 100s, and they got some guys who play different positions, not just all pitchers or just all outfielders. They got a couple infielders, catcher, pitchers. So they got some prospect help on the way. So they're gonna be good, and I think they're gonna be turning a corner here soon. A couple free agent signings in a year or two, and one of these prospects, burst into the scene with a guy like Gallo when Andrew's still playing well. If Odor kind of turned himself into, an overall player, not just 200 and strike out a bunch and hit some home runs. They really got some potential. It's just that they do have a tough division, and they do have, a long ways to go, but they still do have a good team.
Yeah. Well, it's something to be said with this division that if we, a team like this, I think we mutually agree that this team will probably sit around third or fourth in this division. Yeah. That's something to say about the division, but that's not a knock on this team. Like we have been talking about, there's a lot of talent in the rotation, a lot of talent in the lineup. The bullpen's got some talent. They've got prospects. I'm liking what I'm seeing with this team, and coming into this discussion, I was a little more down on the team, but after looking at what they've got and looking at some of the stats, I think that I could see an argument for a dark horse playoff contender. I could see it.
Sure, I think they can definitely steal away into a second wild card spot. It is a tough AL, but the way they played last year at times, and then a couple of the additions and a couple of the young guys, they definitely could make a push for it, and definitely put a little scare on some of these other teams that should be playoff bound. You never know.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty hard for me to kind of pick a place for this team. I think MLB Predictions has them sitting at maybe like 75 wins or something like that, which I think is a little bit low for them. I would probably go a little bit closer to 500 if I were to go kind of with my gut. But like I said, they could just as easily, win 86, 87 games and sneak in a wild card or just at least cause problems for some of the other contending teams. I mean, if I'm, we're Yankee fans. If I'm the Yankees going in to play the Rangers, I'm not sitting here looking at this team and going, oh, well, we'll win 2 out of 3 or something. We could easily just get swept right out and move on to the next team. This team could be dangerous. I really do think so.
Yeah, they definitely got talent, and I think their biggest weakness is probably their consistent bullpen and their depth there.
Yeah.
Leclerc really has some nasty stuff. Nicasio, he has some pretty good stuff, just not consistent. Derek Law, he's an innings eater, gets some outs. Their bullpen's probably their biggest weakness, and if they can kind of get some help there, if they're playing good, and they definitely could be 500 and a couple over, and kind of in the hunt all year for a second wild card spot. But I mean, there's still a ways to go, but there's definitely some hope there and some excitement, especially with a new stadium. So I mean, go for the Rangers, and I do like a lot of the players they got over there, Elvis Andrus and whatnot. So it should be a team to watch throughout the year, and if your team's playing them, you should have some fun watching them because they got some talent and they could put up some crazy numbers. So
yeah, I'll be sure to keep an eye on them. Let's see. I mean, do you have anything else to say about them? I mean, I think we covered just about all the major guys here. Do you have anything else?
No, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. The Rangers, I think, are going to sit around 4th or so. But, definitely a better team. Definitely not a rebuilding team anymore. And should be a fun team over there in Texas for the fans with the new stadium. So
yeah, those fans should be excited. New stadium, nice good team here. I mean, they shouldn't be saying they're 4th is kind of almost feels dirty to say, but I mean, fans should be excited for this team.
Yeah,
put it that way.
Definitely should be excited, and definitely should be looking forward to getting that new stadium and see what that's all about.
All right, so now this division I'd say is a little muddy, a little bit. There's talent in this division, but I would naturally move on to the Angels next.
Yeah.
I think.
I definitely think the Angels are the 3rd team in this division.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got the other 2 teams are really a class of their own.
Yeah, they're a step ahead.
But the Angels, they got some big names over there.
Mm-hmm.
They have some big names.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to hit.
They have the big name and the big hitter.
Yeah, they're going to be able to hit, and they're going to be able to play some pretty good defense. But can they pitch at all? Because they haven't had pitching for years, which has obviously been their problem. But now, with this offense, their pitching doesn't have to be quite as good, but they still have to pitch.
Yeah, they were chasing all free agency. It seemed they were chasing the big ace, and they could never. It was the elusive big ace that they couldn't get.
Yeah, so I mean, they got the number 1 player in the world though, Mike Trout.
Yep.
They have the former number 1 player in the world in Pujols, who's still a 240, 250 guy. He still hits 20-plus home runs and still drives in a bunch of runs. Still at the end of a game, you got a big spot and Pujols is walking up. You're going, well, this one's about over. The guy still has that in him, kind of like Jeter at the end of his career. He's still got that clutch gene in him. So, I mean, give him a chance at the end of games. But then you got a guy like Anthony Rendon. He was, I would say, a pretty big free agent signing. What do you think there?
Yeah, little known guy, Anthony Rendon, Tony Two Bags.
Yeah, I mean, the guy smashes the ball, plays third base at a Gold Glove level. Just won a World Series, Yeah. I mean, unbelievable player.
A lot to like with him.
Yeah, unbelievable player. He's going to be awesome over there in the Angels. Ohtani, two-way player.
Great hitter.
You'll have him probably, after May, maybe pitching? Maybe mid-May?
I think that's where they got him slated right now. I would probably say May is a fair bet.
But still, offensively, one of the better players. And then you got someone like Simmons, who defensively is probably the best defensive shortstop in baseball. Offensively, he puts up good numbers. No one really talks about his offense. It's always his defense, but he puts up good numbers.
Yeah, he bats like somewhere between 270, 290, even 300. I mean, he's a good hitter.
Yeah, and he hits a little, hits some home runs, steals some bases. He's kind of like the old shortstops.
Yeah.
But he fields. He's a wizard.
Yeah,
he's a dominant shortstop, fielding wise, and one of the better shortstops in baseball. If it wasn't for this, revolution, every team's got these dominant shortstops, but he's still one of the better ones. You look around the league, and a couple names in, you get to Simmons. So it's definitely a top talent. And then I got a guy like Justin Upton, who's been in the league for about 12 years, and he's still 30, 32.
Yeah.
Came up as a real young, like 20-year-old. So I mean, injured last year. I think he's a guy that could easily, especially with this deep lineup, can easily put up some big numbers and be in the running for comeback player of the year.
Yeah, he feels like almost at this point. I mean, Justin Upton, he almost feels like an under the radar guy. I feel like no one talks about him, and he's probably going to be batting third, fourth, fifth on this team. He's a great hitter.
Yeah, and he has great power. Usually he hits 270. He still steals some bases. Defensively, he's no superstar out there. Don't get me wrong, especially a little older now, but he still plays a good defense. But he's a really good hitter, especially with this deep lineup. I'm telling you, I think he's a guy who can win AL comeback, player of the year. He's definitely got that talent, and definitely, with the injury last year and the, struggling when he came back, if he could just stay healthy, he's been a little banged up the last couple of years, but he's definitely got some really good, really good talent. And I was always a fan of his, for years.
Yeah.
They got some other guys like David Fletcher came up last year and played really well. He could play all over the field. 300 hitter, not much power, a little bit of stealing bases, but he could play all over. Hits for average. Tywin Estella came out of really nowhere last year, with his great of a year he had until he had the freak injury, broke his leg. That really cost him right at the All-Star game, missed his chance to play in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can come back and have a really good year again. Got a guy like Jason Castro behind the plate.
Yeah.
He should help the pitchers, help the inexperienced pitchers, because he's a guy who's been around the league for a while.
Yeah, he's solid.
Yeah. Some pitching. They do have some pitchers. I mean, don't get me wrong. They do have some decent pitchers. Andrew Heaney, he's still a younger guy, still has some good talent. Dylan Bundy, I think he's off the Orioles now in that bang box of a division. Kind of get the monkey off his back. Sometimes you just need to change the scenery, so this should help him a little bit.
Yeah, he was real high. Him and Andrew Heaney were high prospects. So if they put it together, I mean, those guys could pitch real well.
Sure. Julio Teheran with the Braves, he's always been a good pitcher. Sometimes he gets hot for a couple starts and he's like that, almost like that ace, and then he struggles sometimes and you're ripping him out of the rotation. But for the most part, he's a solid 3-4 man. Yeah. And he eats innings, and he's a veteran at this point.
Yeah, he is.
With the Braves, so he's kind of been through that. They were good, so he knew that. Learned how to do that. He learned how to be on a good team. Then he went through a rebuild, so he learned how to go through a rebuild. Then he got back to a good team, with a young team, so he knows how to do. Kind of been around, and he's been through all the phases of a baseball team.
Yeah.
Good with a veteran team, bad as a veteran player, and then good with a young team as a veteran player. So he's kind of full circle. So we'll see if he can help this Angels team out.
Yeah, I believe it's also his first taste of the AL, so we'll see how that factors in too.
Sure. And then got some bullpen pieces. Ty Buttrey, he's a guy a young pitcher who's gonna be pitched pretty well last year. Gonna be out of the bullpen for the most part. He's gonna pitch pretty well. Camber Drozian, another not a big name guy, but he's a pretty good reliever. He's probably gonna be a big part of their bullpen. You got guys like Hansel Robles, who pitched well last year for them. He's always had that high velocity, high movement pitches with the Mets and with the Angels last year. So we'll see what he could do. He's going to be a big part of their bullpen. Jaime Barria, he pitched last year for the Angels. He's a little bit more of a starter, but he could pitch out of the bullpen, so he should be a young arm that can help them. Griffin Canning, he's one of their higher young pitchers. He pitched last year. He's had some good starts. He had some really bad starts, but he's got some potential to really get on a run and kind of fill one of their needs. He gets pitching good, and that really could turn that team from maybe a 500 team to a playoff contender for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They got Mike Myers or Mike Mayers. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name exactly. More of a veteran reliever. He's been on a couple teams. He's pretty good. See who else they got. Matt Andriese.
Yeah, he's good.
He's been around the league for a while with the Rays. He's with the Diamondbacks, both a starter and a reliever. So they kind of got that versatility pitching wise. They kind of got them starters and relievers. A guy who kind of did veteran and middle relief. A couple guys that are setups. They don't have real dominant bullpen guys. They don't have real dominant pitchers. But they got guys you go, well, if he has a good year, they can have a really good team. Or you go, well, he doesn't have a great year. All of a sudden they're 75 wins, 80 wins again. So we'll see. Who can step up for them pitching wise. And then they got a guy who I really like out of their bullpen, who I think could be that guy who could step up and really be a really good bullpen pieces. Kenyon Middleton, throws really hard. And 2 years ago he pitched well. I think he had Tommy John, kind of cost him pretty much all last year. But he's a guy who's a really quality pitcher, and he's got some nasty stuff, kind of like Hansel Robles, similar pitcher. But he could really, if he takes the next level, takes the next step, he could really be a big piece of their, the Angels pitching bullpen going forward, and it could really help them, proceed into being a playoff team for the first time in a couple of years here, and get Trout back in the playoffs and get this newfound dominant offense into the playoffs and see what they can do out there in LA. Give that second LA team a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little maybe a little Mike Trout biased, where I want to start seeing him in the playoffs. I think that he's too good of a player to kind of not see him in the light shine the brightest. The lineup is self-explanatory. We gush over them. That lineup's really, really good. But I'm very wary of the pitching. I think the bullpen's pretty solid. I think that the bullpen will do a good job. I really don't like the rotation, if I'm being honest. I think that they're good, and I think that the offense can carry the rotation. But I see them as going to be probably buyers at the deadline. And if they get the right trade or something, and they get an ace, or if they get a solid two-man, I mean, the rotation will be pretty good, a little bit better. I think that they got a pretty good bench. I think that the team is really good, and I think that they're like right on the cusp of being a really great team. They just get that one big ace that elusive ace that they can't get, maybe a real name bullpen guy, and they're right there. I mean, even in this tough division, I could see them maybe in within the next few years maybe winning the division. I mean, sure. You never know what happens to the Astros, the A's, and the other teams. Sure. I could see it.
I think the Angels they definitely have some prospects, which is something a little different. They haven't had prospects for a couple of years, but they're starting to kind of build that prospect system up a little bit. They don't have a ton. Another one of these teams in this division that don't have a ton of prospects, but the couple prospects they have are higher prospects. And this is a franchise it's going for it, which is good. They signed Rendon. They kept Trout around for a while. They brought in Ohtani. They're trying to bring these pieces in. Justin Upton, Simmons. They're bringing these pieces in. They want to be good, which is good. So with a couple prospects and they're willing to spend money and they're willing to go make the big move, they might go out and go get a big ace somewhere down the line. So one of these teams are starting to sell one of their big aces or their relievers, like a Brad Hand kind of reliever.
I could see that.
Or someone out in the NL. A couple teams that are going to be, getting rid of relievers. Maybe if the Mets start faltering, maybe you go get Edwin Diaz. Mm-hmm. Something like that, where you can go make a big move and get one of these relievers and really help that settle that back end, or go get a big time starting pitcher from one of these teams, even if he's not the number one dominant ace. But if he could be that, like his worst is like a really good 2, it really could settle them up to be a playoff contender and push the A's and the Astros for. Maybe not really the division, but push them for one of those teams for the wild card. So it's an exciting a time to be out there in LA watching baseball.
Yeah, I mean that's a big market out there in LA, and not to sound like I'm going to sound to the Angels fans here, but they kind of are the other team in LA right now. So with the Dodgers being good for years now, it's probably tough out there for that fan base. I don't want to speak, I'm not an Angels fan, but you want to be able to be in that big market and be that big team. I'm sure that there are a lot of Angels fans out there really itching for that team, and I think that they're real close. I really do. If I were a betting man, I'd probably have them, like we're talking about, probably in third place. Could potentially fight for a wild card spot, and I'm probably gonna say around, I don't know, 86, 87 wins, somewhere in that ballpark. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think they could definitely be up that high. I think maybe more 84. 83, I think the starting pitching is going to hold them back. They do have some prospects, some names I like to talk about. Taylor Ward, third base, a little bit more of an infield utility guy, but third base. He was like their first round draft pick, I think, in 2016.
Okay.
So he came up. He came up and had a little taste of the majors. Kind of struggled a little bit, couple injuries, but he's going to be. He could be a guy that could really help them depth wise and even get a big piece, in trade. They got guys like Matt Dice from our area here in Jersey. I played against him in high school ball. Mike played against him in high school ball. He's a real, monster hitter. We've seen him last year. Average was down a little bit, but he hit some home runs. Made some decent plays over there at third base. Can play first base. He's going to be a big help to them going forward. Then you got guys like Joe Adell, who I think we all heard about him.
Yeah.
Out in the outfield, he'll probably be up in the majors this year at some point. So you add him to a lineup that doesn't really need help in a lineup. You add him, who I think, could do a little bit of everything, steal some bases, which is big. And you could even, really, what could be big for them is you put him in center field, almost, and kind of get Trout over in left field, or even right field, maybe save his legs a little bit, definitely help him. Avoid some of these injuries and maybe avoid getting run down in the middle of the year because you're not going to sit Trout many more than maybe 2 or 3 games the whole year.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 the whole year if he stays healthy.
Yeah.
So you can put this guy in center field a little bit, maybe take a little running off of him. Or you can put him DH and not lose much defense out there in the outfield with a guy like Joe Adele.
Yeah.
And then pitching-wise, they got a guy named Patrick Sandoval, who he's one of their higher pitching prospects, if not the highest pitching prospect they have. I wouldn't say you're going to see him this year. Never say never, especially with a team dying for pitching. If he has a really good start to the year with down the minors and maybe a guy or two gets hurt, you might see him come up and pitch, maybe even out of the bullpen. But I wouldn't say you're definitely going to see him this year. But next year, you'll see him.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's got some talent, and he's going to be a chance to be really, really good and really kind of be their man pitching wise until they figure out who they could sign or who else they can get someone else. So I mean they have some prospects like pretty much like the Mariners and Rangers. They have a couple pretty good prospects. They don't have a ton, but they have a couple pretty good ones. If their pitching can hold up and their young pitching can step up, they could be playoff bound. That's for sure. They're still going to need help though, bullpen wise and starting pitching wise. But their big thing really to go along with Rendon being their big addition and getting a guy like Upton back and Ohtani back pitching wise at some point. They got Joe Madden, and he is a veteran coach. I'm not gonna go overboard with Joe Madden because there's been some things over the years that's been a little bit questionable with me, like all the lineup changes with the Cubs the last couple of years I think kind of hurt them. But he's a guy that knows how to get the most out of some players and move them around and keep it loose and steal an extra win or two, kind of like a Francona, where him being your coach can steal you 2, 3, 4 extra wins compared to, being a 500 team, you're 84, 85 wins and you're in the playoff hunt. So, I mean, that's going to be big. But excitement is their big word. Excitement around the organization, a nice stadium. Can they compete with the Dodgers and get some of that LA fan base back to the Angels, back to Anaheim, and get a little bit more competitive out there in that division instead of being like a 2-team race? Can it be a 3-team race? Can the Angels steal a playoff spot? Can they get the best player in the world into the playoffs? And then you never know. Baseball is one of them sports where you just never know. If you get into the playoffs, you never know what can happen. And when you got a guy like Mike Trout and you got a guy, even an older guy like Pujols who's been there before, you just never know what can happen. So, I mean, hopefully they can put something together. And I think they're a team that a lot of fans are going to kind of root for a little bit, especially with the tragedy they had last year with Tyler Skaggs. They kind of became a team to root for last year. They made a little run there, kind of got close. So people started rooting for them. So I think this year it's going to be similar. Similar. They're going to have a lot of people rooting for them because of the players they got, Rick Rendon and Trout. So hopefully they can make a push and kind of excite baseball a little bit.
Seeing Trout in the playoffs, I think that he would be a great player in the playoffs. I don't see any universe where Mike Trout is not a great playoff player. All right. Anything else you got on the Angels?
No, I mean, other than like you just said with Trout being in the playoffs, I mean, he's like the ambassador of baseball. He's the face of baseball. And some people say, they don't really publicize or, sponsor Trout as much as they should. Not being on a real competitive team and not being in the playoffs kind of hurts MLB. What are you going to, hey, here's our best player. He gets 70 wins a year and he, watches Eagles games in September or October instead of being in the playoffs and pushing for it. So if they can make the playoffs, that'll help MLB's way to kind of sponsor the best player in the world and the best player we've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm a big Mike Trout fan, and whenever you see him in the public eye when he's taking interviews or anything, he always has the right thing to say. He just seems like a cool dude. Like I feel like if you met him on the street, you wouldn't even know he was the biggest baseball star on the planet. Yeah. I really do like Mike Trout, and I hope that they do find their way into the playoffs with him in his prime.
Yeah, Jersey guys, so we kind of have that little bit with him, but kind of got that Derek Jeter, LeBron James from basketball, Tom Brady, where well-spoken, and he just kind of carries himself well, and he just really promotes the game the right way. That's huge, especially with what just happened these last couple of years with the Astros and the Red Sox and what's going on. So him carrying himself like that could really ease the pain a little bit for baseball. So let's all root for the Angels, I think, and Mike Trout, and let's all hope for Frank to get the first pick in fantasy baseball this year because it's going to Mike Trout.
Yeah.
And I don't care who else you want to pick there. I'm picking Mike Trout, so that'd be cool.
I have had the first pick before, and I would pick Altuve. That would probably be different this year.
I don't think you could pick Altuve this year, and I don't think you could really pick them last year. I'm an Altuve guy, even though with what's going on, I definitely lost respect for him, but still like the guy. But come on, give me number 1 pick. I'm taking Trout.
Yeah, I hear that.
Even give me number 2. At least give me a chance.
Yeah.
If you're not 1 or 2, you got no shot at him. And if I get Mike Trout on my team, I'm feeling pretty confident that if the Angels don't get him to the playoffs, I'm getting them to the playoffs. So up there, someone, whoever's up there, you give me Mike Trout, I'll be pretty happy.
All right. What do you say we move on to the A's now?
I love the A's.
Me too.
I love the A's. They are like the White Sox. We're probably going to talk very well about them.
Yeah.
But I love them. I mean, they got everything. They got pitching, defense, speed, a young team, prospects, the underdog mentality. They got it all. And they're out there where no one sees them.
Yeah.
No one sees them. There's no flashy, no real flashiness to it, but they're one of the best teams in baseball. And I mean, they got some crazy talent. So I mean, you want to start first here and dive into it a little bit, or?
Yeah, I mean, I like the A's a lot. I think that they have more than any other team, if this makes any sense. They have the most X factors. That ballpark is an X factor. Their manager is an X factor. It just seems like they have this aura around them with them being always the underdog. They have this aura around them that I just there's something about it I really love. And as a Yankee fan, I hate going out to Oakland. I hate playing them in Oakland.
That's an automatic loss.
Yeah.
The A's at home are a dominant team. You got to hit the ball like 710 feet just to get a foul.
Yeah.
You got a stadium, and I'm an Oakland Raiders fan, and I'm going to be a Las Vegas Raiders fan. So I always had a special place for the Coliseum, even though it's falling apart. And the A's got, septic in their dugouts and raw sewage and whatnot going over there. They still fill the stadium out for baseball.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a crazy fan base.
Yeah, they're insane.
And now that this team has been good for years now, and they do have these big name players, there's something to watch. They're hard to beat out there.
Yeah.
And the game's not over till it's over. Mm-hmm. It really isn't. They're like the Royals from those 2 years or so, but they're just consistent with it. You always see, the A's are down. The A's won. A's came back. The A's are in it. Yeah. They're down by 1. Whatever it is. And then they always find a way to get this new bullpen guy. Yeah. They always find Liam Hendricks. Had some good stuff. All of a sudden, last year, he was like the best reliever in baseball.
Yeah.
They always find a way to get that one really reliever guy, and then they always have to find a way to get that one bat that was never real great, but he plays pretty well. And then they find some way to get, one of their starting pitchers to have an up and a beyond year. I mean, they always find a way to find everything they need.
It's amazing. Like you said with the closer, Liam Hendricks, Blake Trinan, Jim Johnson, I think, had a good year with it.
Lou Trevino, who's still there. I mean, they had Familia last year. He had like a 6 ERA with the Mets, and then all of a sudden he goes back to the A's, and he's really good.
I know. I don't know what it is, what they're drinking out there, but I want to. I want some if they can make me play that good.
I think the foul territory is big. He steals a couple extra outs, and then with the defense, with a guy like Matt Chapman, who every ball on the left side of the field he's going to get and throw you out.
Oh yeah.
And then Matt Olson on the right side of the field, who just throw it, he's got it. That helps.
Yeah.
And then you got a guy like Laser Ramon Lariano in center field, who could throw the ball from here from Oakland to Jersey, in the air. Yeah. Their defense is saved so many runs, but a big stadium. They play to what their stadium gave them. They played to it. Mm-hmm. And what their franchise gives them, they play strongly to it, and they're just exciting. I mean, they got everything. I don't even know where I could say, what's their big weakness? You could say, they don't have super big names, maybe bullpen wise, or maybe starting pitching wise, no super, but they're all really really good.
Yeah.
So you want one really good pitcher and maybe 2 okay pitchers, or do you want like 5 higher end pitchers? And then some younger bullpen guys who all have a kind of a piece in the puzzle. One guy throws a little slower. One guy has a little funky delivery. A couple guys throw real hard. It's just they're a special team if they can just kind of get past that wild card game.
Yeah, they for some reason can't just get over that hump in the playoffs. It's the weirdest thing. And last year they played the Rays at Oakland with Sean Manaea on the mound, and I kept saying I don't see a universe where the Rays win, and unfortunately the A's just couldn't get it done. I just don't understand what it is.
Very similar teams too. The Rays and the A's are very similar. If they can just kind of get that monkey off their back, similar to the Twins, they're going to be scary. Because once they can release all that pressure on them, like, you did it, mm-hmm. then all of a sudden they can get really, really dangerous.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to our conversation on the Twins. They got to just get over that hump.
I love the team. I love the franchise. I love the city of Oakland. I was Raiders fan, so I love the craziness out there. They can just get a new stadium, a new ballpark. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That would be quite exciting. But I mean, look at some of these names. Matt Chapman's one of the best third basemen in baseball. Offensively, struggled a bit last year, but defensively, like Platinum Glove winner.
He's a wizard.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. And then you got a guy like Matt Olson that we talked about, who's one of my favorite players. He really turned into one of my favorite players, and a guy I look for in fantasy every year. I mean, look last year. He broke his hamate bone early in the year, which is saps your power, they say. Came back pretty early from that. Still had a bunch of home runs. Still had, I think, 99 RBIs.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy, and he could crush lefties too.
Which is that's unique.
Yeah, he's a power hitter who hits lefties as a lefty and plays fantastic defense. I mean, fantastic defense. Not just like, hey, he's pretty good. Like, he's a Gold Glover. He's fantastic.
Yeah, for my money, I'd say that they probably have the best defensive corner combo in the league.
Yeah,
I would say.
And a guy like Marcus Semien, who really turned his career around from the error machine a couple years ago to a high quality hitter, a high quality player. I mean, was he like third in the league in WAR last year?
Something like that. He was unbelievable last year.
I I think he got MVP votes, or had a couple second place or third place votes, maybe not first place votes, but a couple got some points.
Oh yeah.
He had a really good year. Then you got a guy like Chris Davis, who last year struggled with some injuries and whatnot. But I mean,
he's Mr. Consistency.
Yeah, he'll be back to 247. I mean, he had a quote the other day. It was like, "I'm gonna hit 247 this year."
Yeah.
This guy's not really striving for much.
No,
but he's gonna hit 40 home runs and hit 247. I mean,
yeah, I'll take that.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
So he'll get back to that, I think, this year. Last year he had some injuries and he never was healthy.
Yeah.
Even when he was playing, he wasn't healthy. So he just could never, get on a run. Ramon Laureano. Laser Ramon, his defense is ridiculous. Last year, offensively, he was up 280, 290, home runs, stolen bases. He did a lot of everything. People talk about his defense, but I mean, offensively, he was really good.
Yeah, he came alive.
Yeah, I mean, Steven Piscotty, quality player, a couple, hits home runs, plays good defense. All around player. They traded for a guy like Tony Kemp.
Mm-hmm.
He's been on some good teams, so he knows how to win. And speed guy, can kind of play all over the field. Got guys like Marcana, who had a good year, or Kana, should say, Marcana.
Mm-hmm.
He had a good year. I think he's got a chance at opening up as one of their starting outfielders.
Certainly, yeah.
Chad Pinder,
mm-hmm.
kind of a bench guy who can move around the field, puts up some decent numbers, knows his role, which is very big in baseball, knowing what your role is.
Mm-hmm.
And then pitching-wise, Sean Manaea, back healthy this year for the full year.
Yeah.
Bullpen-wise, Liam Hendricks, we talked about him. If he could just, he doesn't have to be, unbelievable like it was last year, but if he could be pretty close to that's going to be locked down and out in the bullpen. He came in and just shut people down. Not just 1 inning, 2 innings, 5 outs, 4 outs, 7 outs. He's crazy.
Yeah.
He doesn't, he'll go out and pitch 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row. It doesn't matter. He's one of those, a little bit more of an old school kind of bullpen guy. Frankie Montas had a really good year going. Had some performance-enhancing drugs, kind of suspended there.
Yeah.
But still, he's back this year. He's exciting. Daniel Magden, I know he's hurt right now. I think he had shoulder surgery or something wrong with shoulder. 60-day DL they put him on. I'm not quite sure if he's gonna when he's gonna come back. I would say he's probably gonna be back this year at some point. He's a younger guy who can, not a superstar but a good pitcher. Old school, got the big mustache and the stirrups and the weird wind-up.
Yeah.
But still, a good pitcher. So hopefully they get him back at some point this year. But Chris Bassett, another younger guy, kind of can do a little bit both. Lou Trevino, quality relief pitcher, gets hot and cold, starts walking guys and starts leaving pitches over the middle, but still quality guy. Jake Diekman, really crazy lefty. He came back last year too from injuries, so he comes back lefty who's really gonna really could sling the ball, from the left side, really lefty dominant. He should really help. Yosmero Petit, older guy, bunch of pitches, kind of moves the ball up and down all over the place. Joaquim Soria, similar pitcher. They got depth.
Yeah.
They got T.J. McFarland. As you guys watch baseball. Lefty pitcher. He pitched with the Orioles, pitched with the Diamondbacks. Kind of been around. No superstar, but a lefty.
Yeah, lefty specialist.
Get some outs. No lefty specialist this year, Mike. You got to pitch 3 outs now. 3 batters.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Jeez.
You're right.
Do you know anything?
All right.
And And then, oh yeah, they got that Mike Fiers guy.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
Doesn't he cause trouble? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. He doesn't strike out a bunch of guys. Doesn't walk a bunch of guys. But he's pretty good.
He's a solid pitcher. He actually, when I was looking up the notes, they had him projected as the number one starter in their rotation. So
And I think he might sell a lot of jerseys this year
yeah,
with
I'd say
baseball fans and even maybe some of the baseball players for what he did. Information he gave regarding the Astros. We'll get into that very shortly.
Yeah.
But this team, I like to list a couple of prospects for every team, but I mean, this team's got like 6 of them that I like. Jesus Luzardo, he'll be up in the majors this year. He was up last year a little bit. He's like can't miss, number one lefty. He's a superstar.
Yeah.
He's got a superstar mantra around him.
He's got electric stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love AJ Puck. Love him. He's like 6'8". I watched him pitch at Florida. He came out of Florida in the first round to the A's a couple years ago. He had Tommy John not long ago. Last year he pitched a little bit out of the bullpen for the A's, pitched well. I think he's going to be really good. Big lefty. He's fighting for that 5th spot in the rotation. I think he's going to get it. If he doesn't get it to break the year, he'll definitely get it very shortly into the year. I think he's got some major potential to be AL Rookie of the Year.
I could see that.
I mean, he's got some big potential, I think, and everyone thinks Luzardo definitely got a high shot, but I think Puck's definitely got a shot. A little bit more of a sleeper guy. Another young guy, Sean Murphy, catcher.
Yeah.
He came up last year and played well. He's going to be their catching cornerstone for years to come. He's got a little bit of everything, fielding, power, hitting, a little bit of everything. Jorge Mateo from the Yankees, he's still young, still trying to figure him out a little bit, but, he's still got potential around the infield and even in the outfield. So you might see him at some point. You got a guy like Dustin Fowler, another guy from the Yankees. An outfielder with some potential. He's a tough team to break the roster with the depth, but an injury here or there or a trade or whatever happens, he's got he can make a little bit of a difference and impact in the game.
Well, if there's a team that can get the most out of their player, it's this team.
Yeah, and a team that uses all their depth, kind of like the Cardinals. They bring a young guy up, and you're like, who's this guy? He's batting .350 for a month. You're like, all right.
Mm-hmm.
James Caprillion, another guy from the Yankees. He was a quality pitcher, had some injuries. He's back this year for a full, healthy year. Let's see if he can break to the majors at some point. You got a guy, and then you got an international guy, Lazaro Armenteria, or Armenterios.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure exactly how to pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
An outfielder, young guy, got a lot of potential. We'll see him for probably a couple of years. I think he's 20, so you might not see him for maybe next year. 2 years, you'll probably see him.
Yeah.
But still a high potential guy, and if anything, gives him a chance, a trade piece to go give away, and maybe go get some big name guy with the A's. They look for guys who they can have control over for a couple of years. He could trade him, use him as trade bait. They're young, and they're really young, and they got a lot of depth. They just got more people on the way. Just more troops. They just keep coming and coming and coming. They make smart deals. They make very smart
100%.
deals. They make very smart with their money, like the Rays. And they could definitely make a splash this year in the trade market at some point. And they're going to make a splash this year, standings wise. I think they're going to push the battered Astros for the division.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they have a chip on their shoulder. And I think they're gonna make a run. And I think they're going to get that monkey off their back, and I think they could make a deep playoff run and really contend with some of these powerhouse AL teams, especially with the Astros kind of trending the wrong way, and Boston kind of trending the wrong way, and the Indians going the wrong way. They're one of those teams that could definitely jump up and really jump into the playoffs and really be in the mix for maybe a World Series run.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely have them taking, if not the top wild card spot, one of the wild card spots, and I think that they're a dark horse. Maybe not even dark horse. I think that they're a candidate to win that AL West. I mean, as weird as that sounds, I could see them winning, 95, 96, 97 games and winning the West. I don't know if that's going to happen. I still have them pegged at second in the standings, but I could certainly see this team taking the AL West, and if not this year, maybe next year, the year after. I mean, I don't see a world where this team is bad within the next year or two. It's just they've got a lot of young talent. They got talent in the rotation. They got talent in the field. They got talent at the plate. They got talent in the bull. I mean, it's this team is great. I really do like this team a lot.
Yeah, and what's going to help them too is the talks about a new stadium.
Yeah.
They get a new stadium, maybe bring in some more money, really help their pockets.
Yeah.
Be able to keep some of these players. With the Raiders kind of moving out of town and the Warriors kind of moving up the coast a little bit, it's kind of all them now.
Yeah.
So that's going to help them a little bit too, money wise. I think people want to go watch them. Kind of their team, their one and only team now. Kind of, they're gonna. The only way that's really gonna hurt them is if they don't keep some of these guys. But I feel like they're gonna keep Chapman. I think they're gonna keep Olsen. They're gonna pay some of these guys. They know they have to at some point. I think this is one of those guys, a couple of guys that they keep, and then with the young guys just keep filtering in. They're gonna be good.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be good for a while. And it might be different names. They might not keep all these guys, but it might be different names filtering in or out. But there's gonna be a couple cornerstone guys, and they're gonna be good, and they're gonna really compete. And if not this year, next year or the year after, you're gonna see them. I really think in the World Series. And making some serious noise and really, causing a ruckus in the league.
Yeah, they're an exciting team, and yeah, I mean, do you have anything else on them, or you want to move on? I don't think we have any more teams to talk about, do we?
We got that one team that's stupid, but I got one quick more thing with the A's. And I know we bolstered, talked them up like we did with the White Sox.
Yeah,
but,
you thought we gushed about the White Sox.
but I mean, this team is really good, but I would think it would be just awesome for the city of Oakland to get the A's deep into the playoffs for what happened with the Warriors kind of moving and the Raiders kind of moving and really kind of being on the city, why it's doing it. The city kind of holding back the A's getting a new baseball stadium. But really, wouldn't it make the MLB mad if they had to host a big playoff game over there in Oakland with the sewer and the dugout and all the nastiness going on in that nasty stadium? Wouldn't that just kind of be, look what you did, MLB. Look what you caused.
Yeah.
You wanted a national TV in a big game. You're looking at this.
Yeah.
So that would be, I think that'd be good for Manfred and his, stupidity to see. So
I tell you what, that'd probably be the loudest stadium of all time too.
It'd
If they
fall down. It'd fall down. You'd have spikes from the Raiders, and you'd have all these crazy things going on, and it's a big mess.
Oh yeah, they'd be playing Metallica, and they'd be playing all the metal. The place would fall apart, like you said.
Yeah.
The roof would come down.
I mean, it's already falling apart, but it would just collapse, and everyone would be like, "Well, that's all right. That's okay.
Yeah.
And now it's time to get a new one, please, maybe." So, but
Well,
I think that's it for them, right?
Yeah, I think it's time to move on to this team.
Yeah, and this other team here, you haven't heard much from them. The Astros, they're something, right?
Man, I don't even know where to start with this
Now,
team.
This team, I think, is going to be a little different compared to all the other teams we do. I think everyone kind of knows their roster. I don't think we're going to dive deep into their roster. We'll give you some of the names. Don't get me wrong here, but I think we really. I am tired of hearing it, but I think we do need to talk about it.
Yeah, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about what's been going on with them.
But their sign stealing extravaganza they had for 3-4 years, 5 years. There's no real,
Who knows how long was going on?
But it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and it's terrible.
Yeah, I actually, the more I think about it, the more mad I get.
It's terrible. This is worse than steroids. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. This impacted the game. Did you know that? Did the owner? I don't think the owner knew that.
Yeah, no.
That not knowing the pitch that's coming didn't. It's unbelievable.
I know.
Where are you?
Yeah.
Do you even go to your own team's games? Because it doesn't look like it. If you don't know it didn't impact the game. I mean, you knew what pitch was coming. You put the ball in the tee. That doesn't impact the game. I mean, they cheated. They downright cheated. It's terrible. They did what's one of the worst things that happened in baseball ever.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. This is just as bad as the Black Sox. You impacted the game to the core. And not just that year or the year after or whatever. 10, 15, 20 years down the line. Whole careers. Whole franchises. Whole rebuilds at this time. This time period were rebuilds. Oh, we go, well, can we beat them? No, let's rebuild. All of a sudden you find out, they cheated to get, they're good, but cheat to get to where they're getting. And now you're thinking, oh, man, what did we do? What happened to me? What happened to us because of them cheating? It's terrible.
Yeah.
It is terrible. And the MLB just to give them, oh, it's okay. I would not put it past them to continue to do it. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
What, you lost what, $2 million, $5 million, whatever it was? Not the players' money. Players don't care. Who cares what the owner's losing? You're winning.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
You got a ring.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's idiotic. It's idiotic for Manfred, Goodell Jr. to mess up the league like that. It's idiotic. And then to say, oh, we didn't want to take that piece of metal away. So you tell me, So the paper contract that everybody signs, just a piece of paper. So why do we have them? You literally sign a piece of paper to say you're going to be on that team. Now that's idiotic. If you're going to say that's a piece of metal is idiotic, signing a piece of paper is idiotic. It's stupidity.
There's a lot to go. We could do a 5-hour podcast on this whole scandal, but I think that the way that the commissioner handled it, the way that the players are handling it, the way that the GM and the owner handled it, I think that there's no damage control. Everyone is saying the wrong thing. There was a slap on the wrist punishment. The more that I think about it, the more I would wish that they would just take away the title or put some sort of official asterisk on the team or something, because it just, what'd they fine them? $5 million. You know, they took away two draft picks.
I think it might have been 2 for 2 years.
4 draft picks. Okay, I mean,
but where's the players' punishment? If you're a team like the Rockies out there, or a team like the Padres, or a team that's pretty good out there, the Cubs or something, why not cheat? Give yourself a chance. I mean, it doesn't have to be as deep as the Astros went, because they went ridiculous. But why not go cheat? You're gonna get nothing. Nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You're just gonna win a World Series, and hey, here's all my money because I cheated.
Yeah, you're gonna win a World Series and no one will like you. I mean, that's a trade-off. You know.
Who cares? And then you got guys like Verlander. Well, he's always got something to say.
Yeah, he's got
People
the biggest
with
mouth in the
steroids
league,
and all this crazy stuff, wants the game traditional and everything. Well, hell, his team cheats for him to win a World Series. Oh, you haven't heard a word from him. Yeah. And then he goes to that awards show and goes, "Oh, we had some extra information." Well, that's funny to joke about. That one that you really easily could have ruined baseball.
Yeah.
In a time where viewership in all sports are going down because of people not watching TV and whatnot, you're gonna come out and do this and ruin the game. I mean, just ruin the game. This is hurting the game to the core. This is like the 94 strike, Pete Rose's legacy getting tarnished. It's big punches to the MLB, right to the gut. Black Sox scandal. It wasn't Black Sox scandal. It wasn't for Babe Ruth. Baseball maybe not here. Mm-hmm. The strike in 94. If it wasn't for steroids, baseball maybe not here.
Mm-hmm. So, I
mean, what did we do? Where are we at right now? Because the Astros really put us in a bad place, and then everyone opens their mouth. It's worse. You can't. Yeah. You think it doesn't get worse. It's getting worse. And the players are tired of it. But you want to punish someone for pegging them.
Yeah.
In-game action to handle it themselves, and you're going to punish them? What, are you going to suspend them 20 games?
They'll get more suspensions and punishment than the players that cheated.
So cheat, nothing. Hit a guy with a ball, thrown out for 20 games.
Yeah.
30 games, whatever it's going to be. That's stupid.
It's absurd.
That's stupid. But viewership is the problem, so let's put a pitch clock. Because besides the game being 3 hours, it's 2 hours and 58 minutes. That's what's going to make that kid not watch.
And let's change the playoff.
Let's put everyone in the playoffs and make a reality show. But the team that's cheating, that's not stopping viewership. Or the guy striking out 598 times, that's not stopping viewership.
Yeah.
No, we don't want to talk about that. And the MLB doesn't want to get into this because they don't want to find out what they're going to. They don't want to get into what they might find. And I'm not saying every team's cheating. I'm saying every team's doing a little something in every sport, that's borderline.
Yeah, getting the advantage.
But I'm sure there's some other teams that have been doing similar stuff, maybe more towards the Red Sox, maybe not the Astros. Astros is on a whole different level, maybe towards the Red Sox. But if they look into this, they might find 10, 12, 15 teams doing this. That would collapse baseball.
Yeah,
it really would.
I know.
It would put it with the minor leagues kind of going through their little issues, and it's terrible. The Astros did is awful, and it's I don't even know what else you could say. It's a shame, and baseball let it happen, and the commissioner let it happen with his stupid smile and his gap in his teeth and all his stupid things he has to say. He did what he did to baseball it's absurd.
Well, a lot of people talk about what Bud Selig did with the steroid era and how he ruined that, and he let that go on. It's almost like baseball got the second chance to have this big scandal and do it right this time. And really, they could have made it a hell of an example of the Astros and took the World Series title and suspended this player and made sure that they couldn't go to the playoffs next year. They could have really brought the hammer down, and they didn't. They didn't even bring the rubber mallet down on this team. I mean, it's. I lost a lot of respect for guys I liked. I lost respect for Altuve. I lost respect for Alex Bregman, George Springer. These guys are stars, and this is an exciting team. And it was a team that, as a Yankee fan, I didn't want to see in the playoffs. And,
for good reason. For that we know.
Well, now we know. Yeah, who knows that 27? I mean, it is fair to say that 2017 series could very well have been different because that series went right down to the wire. I mean, say they're not doing that sign scandal crap. Just if the Yankees win one game at the Astros Park, they're in the World Series. Who knows if they win the World Series? Who knows if then the Dodgers win the World Series? I mean, it's so frustrating on so many levels that the players would do this, and then they act. Their apologies are awful. They're
These guys on this team are cocky, like Bregman. You got guys like Correa who always got something to say. These guys got all these big words to say, Verlander and everything, but they got nothing to say when this comes out. You get guys off the team apologizing.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to hear it either from the other guys. Oh, I wish I would have stopped it. No, you didn't.
Yeah, you were fine with it.
And then you got guys like Big Papi coming out and saying, oh, he's snitching. Oh, yeah, let's take morals from a guy who, steroids and did his, sign stealing's cool. And you don't want to get into the reason, what his issues were in the Dominican, why he, got in the situation he got into.
Yeah.
But there's definitely rumors on what happened there. I'm going to take my morals from that guy.
Yeah, that was a bad take.
Yeah, I mean, there's players like Markakis don't say a word. And he comes out and says they deserve a beating, and the MLB's an embarrassment. Trout, who don't say much, comes out and says, bad things. LeMahieu, guy who don't say a word. He didn't say much, but he said, I'm disappointed in the league and everything involved. A lot of guys, Judge, not a big outspoken guy, they're all saying bad things.
Yeah.
So, and you can imagine there's probably 10-15% of people that are quiet, calm players. And then there's 80-90% of players who are the fiery, crazy, they're going to give you what they think, and you're going to listen to it. The league is in a bad spot, and the league messed this up, and the league is hurting player safety.
Oh, yeah.
It's hurting player safety.
God forbid that the Astros have to play against Cincinnati with Trevor Bauer out there. Trevor Bauer will throw at every single one of those batters until he gets thrown out.
Ross Stripling said he would.
Oh, yeah.
And he's who's he? But then you got guys, what if Michael Kopech wants to throw at you at 105? Or Chapman at 100 miles per hour. These guys are Garrett Cole.
Oh, yeah.
At 100 miles per hour, or anybody, Betances, Edwin Diaz, any other one of these guys. You got guys, it's terrible.
And that's not even talking about the potential. I mean, this is technically, there was no punishment. The MLB technically found nothing wrong, but the potential of the buzzers in the last playoffs. I mean, there's all that too.
They don't want to get into it. The MLB doesn't want to get into it because they don't want to know what they're going to find, and it's terrible. And they really messed it up, and it's heartbreaking for someone who loves the game of baseball. And watches it and knows the game, knows the history of the game, to see something like this happen. It's just dumbfounded, and it's heartbreaking because I think the game really was. I know viewership numbers were kind of going down and attendance numbers maybe, but I don't know. People were talking baseball. The Cubs winning and the Indians being there and the Astros doing their rebuild, the Dodgers being good, the Yankees being good, the Mets were good a little bit there. I mean, a big franchise like Cardinals kind of being good, the A's getting. I mean. A lot of good things to talk about, and then you just fall all the way down the mountain and start all over. And I mean, it's bad. Yeah. It's bad that little leagues around the world are taking the Astros out of the teams they're given, but the major leagues won't do nothing.
I know.
I mean, it's
embarrassing.
But
as a baseball fan, it's been embarrassing.
But we can go into this this team a little bit and give them a little bit of credit. They got a guy like Altuve. I was always a fan of Altuve. Definitely lost respect for him. Correa. He's pretty good. Not a big fan of his. Bregman, I don't know. He's a nice guy. Does some good things off the field. Never really liked him, though. Kind of carried himself like he was the biggest, baddest around. If I knew a pitch was coming, too, I'd, be in the majors as well.
Yeah, I'd put up that 4 sign all the time, too.
Yeah. George Springer, swings for the fences, and, why not?
Yeah, don't throw a fastball to him on the first pitch, that's for sure.
Yeah, when you know it's coming, yeah. Yuli Gurriel, quality player. Yordan Alvarez is a guy everyone, mad at everybody. Can't get mad at him because he was in the team last year halfway through the year when really they were doing this all the time. I don't think he really was, one of them young guys who never really got into it. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, might have used it, but, people booed him at his award thing. Yeah, he's a guy you kind of go, hold back a little bit on him because, he didn't really do much.
Yeah, he's got stupid power. I hope there's no asterisk next to that.
Yeah,
but
Michael Brantley, I don't think is a guy, don't think he cheated.
Well, even if he did, I don't know if it mattered. I mean, the guy's just, I don't know. Yeah. His numbers were consistent with his other years, it seems.
Then you got Reddick, a guy who he cheated. He bat 330. He was a 250 hitter, especially older now. A little younger, you put a little better numbers, but now he's a little older. But they have some guys like Martin Maldonado they brought in. Verlander, all of a sudden he don't say nothing. He's really got a lot to say about his Cy Young not getting that, and people cheating, but you don't hear him say nothing.
No, I didn't see many tweets from him.
No, I guess this is good for him. He got his ring. Cool.
Yeah.
I'll cheat. Whatever.
He'll still be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, sure. No, all these guys will be. They don't care. Bet on the game for your team to win, and woo, out of here.
God forbid.
Yeah. Or football. You deflate a football. Whoa. Maybe. But baseball impact the game for 25 years to the next 20 years to come. 25 years. Oh no, you're good. You're good. Do it next year, and the year after, and the year after. After the league, multiple teams tell you this team's cheating. Nah.
Yeah.
It takes a player in the division to finally be like, hey, these guys are cheating. This is exactly how they're doing it, and they'll be still like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Greinke, weird guy. He's a good pitcher. At some point, he's gonna kind of go down. Older guy. Verlander too. At some point, they're gonna finally kind of falter a little bit.
Well, that's what I've got in the notes here. I've actually let me find it here.
While you find that, I'm going to continue a little bit. A guy like McCullers, I always kind of liked. Nasty stuff.
I like him too.
Throws us 700 curveballs in a row. Joe Smith, funky guy. Davinsky, a funky reliever. Presley had a really good year. Brad Peacock, he got to do a little bit of both. Joe Biagini, decent pitcher. Josh James, younger guy. He can really be a step up this year and kind of help them.
Mm-hmm.
With losing Cole. But they got some prospects too still. Forrest Whitley, one of their top guys. We'll see him this year. Corey Lee is a catching prospect. Obviously, their catchers are kind of weak. So they'll get him. Maybe not this year. I don't know. I wouldn't say this year. But with the team wanting to win, you never know. But next year, probably definitely see him.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Straw, we'll see him up in the league this year.
Yep.
Kyle Tucker, we'll see him around this year. Good players. They got a guy like then they got another young guy, Fraudes Nova. Reading about him in 2016, he was like number 1 international guy.
Oh, okay.
Got suspended for performance-enhancing drugs, so he fits the Astros nice.
Okay.
But he was Marlins were going to go after him, and then this kind of happened. The Astros took a chance on him. I seen some similarities. They said he was going to kind of be like maybe like Edgar Renteria, kind of like similar to him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. He's a young guy, but they definitely have a challenge ahead of them, as we've seen in spring training already, and with the league around the league, they definitely have a big challenge ahead of them to continue to be good, and continue to make their fan base want to stick with them through this. They're in a tough spot. They're still good. They're strong. They got depth. They have some question marks. They have a big problem ahead of them. They are running out of time. Windows only open so long. They have Dusty Baker, who, if they had any manager out there, him or Showalter, someone like that, who could really push this off and kind of get them going to baseball, it's Dusty Baker. If I were to, I can't really root for him, the Astros, but I always was a Dusty Baker fan.
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for Dusty Baker,
Yeah,
especially stepping into this role.
And he deserves to win.
Oh, yeah.
Been around baseball for so long and, created the high five. Look it up.
Yeah.
Look, Dusty Baker created the high five.
Just Google it.
Dumbfounding. On the moon before we had a high five. I don't know. Yeah, so, I love Dusty Baker. I can't really root for the Astros. And, I'll kind of always, still like Altuve. Just, it's hard to, you don't know. I have a signed card. I think I have his rookie card somewhere, too. Always looked at his numbers, being like, hey, he could hit 3,000 hits, or he could, 3,500 hits, and, all that's crazy stuff. And now it's like, I'm still going to be rooting for him, but it's like, what happened. Yeah. And you don't have to be a big fan of baseball to know what happened. And if you weren't a big fan of baseball, this could have easily turned you off of baseball, which is awful. I mean, I don't know what else I can say about it, but it's disappointing, and it's upsetting. It really is. So
I hate it.
Yeah. You got anything you want to say or talk about some of these players that we went into?
You pretty much nailed it on all the guys. I mean, the lineup is still insane. The fact that you've got Carlos Correa potentially batting 7th is insane. They've got really good hitters. They've got good defense, good speed. The note that I was going to bring up earlier with Verlander and Greinke that I've got here is that the rotation is weaker without Cole, and with Verlander and Greinke getting up in age, the bottom's got to fall out at some point for these guys. I mean, they're great pitchers and all that, but age catches up to everyone, and not necessarily that they're going to have bad years, but they're not going to put up necessarily like 2 low 3 ERA seasons. You never know when the bottom's going to fall out there, and then
also with that is with the couple of years of deep playoff runs.
Yeah.
That's 20, 40, 30, whatever, 20, 30, 40, not 20, 40, 30 innings extra.
Yeah.
And obviously high intense innings too, and pitches. So it's gonna. You don't know. It's coming soon. Really, you already seen struggle at one point and kind of come back. Greinke, they kind of been waiting for this, but he's got all these junk pitches, so he's kind of hanging around. Not really hanging around, really pitching well still, but something's coming. At some point, this stuff's going to catch up to the Astros too. So at some point, injuries and bad luck and whatnot's going to catch up to them for what they did. It's just still kind of the way the world goes. And then you got teams like the A's and the Angels bearing down on them with definitely a chip on their shoulder, especially the A's for years, fighting with them. And the Angels, where a guy like Mike Trout, definitely outspoken, and some high respected guys like Pujols with chips on their shoulders because of this. They got the biggest target on their back, I think, ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
For a whole individual franchise. Not just like player to player. A-Rod with his obviously was a big target, but this is like a whole franchise. No matter who you are, you could have just got there. You're playing with the Astros, and then you got guys on the other teams that are young guys. It gives you a roster spot. You come in there opening day or early in the season, you peg one of those guys.
Yeah.
That shows you don't like them for what they did, and it proves to your teammates that you got something. You're not gonna take it.
Yeah, you stick up for your guys.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just it's in a weird spot. It's in a tough spot. I hope we can just get past it, and we can stop talking about it because I'm tired of hearing about it. But you're not gonna, it's just not gonna stop.
No.
But
who knows? We could wake up tomorrow and there could be something completely new. We could, the buzzers are confirmed. They're this or I don't know.
Every game you're gonna hear it too. Every time you see,
yeah.
Even if it's not an Astros game, I'm sure something's gonna get said. Fans gonna have signs and whatnot. It's bad. I think it's gonna bring the baseball community together for one common goal, to stop cheating and to be against that team, which is kind of good, I guess. But it's a shame what happened, and
yeah, lost a lot of respect for the players, for that owner. I didn't even know the guy. Now, I mean,
and the whole league.
Yeah, the league,
not the teams in the league, or not even the other owners in the league, because they haven't, not their say. But it's the commissioner's office. The commissioner himself is idiotic.
I already wasn't crazy about Manfred. I didn't dislike the guy, but now after this, I lost a lot of respect for him.
Pitch clocks.
Yeah, I just
robo umps.
Yeah, just keep. Just
playoffs.
You can tweak. I don't mind modern tweaks and making the game a little quicker and just like I said, tweaks. Just robo umps and pitch clocks and change the playoff format. Like, just stop. Just slow down. Stop trying to
possibly messing with the baseballs.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Changing the contact to catcher. Can't slide in the second.
Yeah.
We assume we're gonna not even jog the bases for home runs. Soon we'll just be throwing the bat to pitcher. Home run, and soon there'll be breakaway bases at first base, like you see in Little League and softball and whatnot, where you have an orange base over there. I mean, the whole game's gonna be different, and because of this bonehead, who I don't think has ever even played baseball, and then when he goes to the games, I don't even know if he's watching them. I don't know what he's doing. He's just smiling, you don't know what he's doing. He doesn't even know what's going on.
Well, we could go on about this forever, and just to put a nice bow on this, it's a weird thing to say, but I still think they're gonna win the division. I mean, all things considered, I still think that this is the team to beat in the West, and I'm a little bit, if I do say so, I'm a little bit rooting for the A's to overtake them.
Oh, I'm rooting for them all the way, and I like the players on the A's too. But
yeah, I already like the A's better than the Astros, just as it is. So I would be rooting for them anyway, but now I really do want to see the Astros go down a little bit.
I agree. I think they're definitely have a higher shot at winning the division. Making my own predictions and doing all that. I'll have them winning the division.
Yeah,
but
me too.
It could easily go the other way, especially with the off-field mess they got going on.
Their team morale must be non-existent. They must be a mess. Yeah.
Well, they don't care. They're all cocky and really don't say nothing. So they're like, let's keep doing it. They don't care. They're the best in the world. But it's terrible. I don't know. I can't keep talking about it. So
yeah, let's just hopefully the season starts. I'm sure some players are going to take their lumps. They're going to get thrown at. I just don't. There's going to be some pitchers out there that don't care what the repercussion is, and they're going to be a loose cannon. And they're going to throw at them.
Guys play infield. Altuve, we'll take an extra out, just slide into him or Correa, or take a Machado like little elbow over there at first base. You know, and this is well deserved. You never want somebody to get hit or hurt, or, whatever. Sometimes you got to get pegged or whatever to respect the game and stuff like that. And that's just part of the game. but you never want somebody to get hurt. But this is all well deserved, and this is dangerous because there might be guys who go head hunting,
Oh yeah.
which is really never.
No, you don't want to see that.
I mean, when you mess with people's livelihoods and careers and lives and you know and their dreams and franchises and big money, billions of dollars. I mean, stuff like that happens, and that's what they wanted, I guess. And
Yeah.
That's where they're at.
Yeah, it's a shame too because this is one of the best teams in the league, and they have been one of the best teams. But it's hard to even say that now. You got to put a little asterisk next to the last few seasons for them, and I just hate the whole situation.
And they were a big turnaround. A lot of people like them.
Oh yeah.
Especially after what they dealt with, 105 plus losses every year. But now it's went from well liked to the most hated.
Yeah, I actually doing that big turnaround and having as good a team as they do, especially when the Yankees would have to play them in the playoffs. I had a lot of respect for the team. I would never really badmouth them and say, hey, it's a good team over there and they could beat anyone. But now it's hard.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, that's all three divisions out there in the AL.
Yeah, AL's done.
I mean, next week we'll be in the NL. We'll be back in the East, talking about the Phillies and the Mets and what's going on over there.
The World Series defenders. Got the Nationals over there.
Yeah, with the Nationals and what's going on with the Nationals and what's going on with the Braves.
Yeah, good team over there.
Yeah, the big bad Braves. The Phillies, where they're kind of what's going to happen, and then you got a team like the Mets, who knows at all ever.
Yeah, you could argue that's the best division in baseball. Honestly, I could see it.
Yeah, and a team like the Marlins, which have some young talent and are continuing to kind of build. So there's going to be an explosive point with that team at some point in the next couple of years where they're going to be, on the scene, doing their thing. So that should be fun to talk about.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, we knew coming in this was going to be an involved topic with the AL West, but we'll shoot over to the NL and see what we got going on over there next week.
Yeah, it was a little longer conversation.
Yeah, but it needed to be said.
Especially back end with the Angels and then the A's, especially with the A's, and then the Astros obviously taking up a lot of time.
Yeah.
And taking up a lot of everyone's time.
Yeah.
Because of their stupidity. But it's time to get past them and get on to the NL, where there's some really superstar teams and some players and some fun coming out there. So and really young talent. So that should be exciting to talk about.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. We will see you next week for the discussion on the NL. You can find me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can find me on Instagram at MikeLepre.
And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
You can find the official Screwball Podcast Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can find us on Facebook at ScrewballPod, no E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
See you next week, guys.